Yesterday, we have been dealing with अपने अपने वीडियोस म्यूट करें प्लीज. राजपूत जी मैं करता हूँ आपसे 2 घंटे बाद. हेलो म्यूट. हाँ, ऑल राइट. So till yesterday what we are doing is we were dealing with Limitation Act. We have come across section 1 to 12 and a question answer session as well. Now we will try to go a little further from section 13 onwards. So section 13, Vipin, read out section 13. Hello Vipin, can't you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
Section 13 पढ़ रहा हूँ sir. Section 13.
पढ़िए.
Exclusion of time in case where leave to sue or appeal as a pauper is applied for.
All right. Further, so first of all, we get to know that section 13 speaks about a situation where a person has filed a leave for being considered as a pauper, right? Further, पढ़ो आगे.
In computing the period of limitation prescribed for any suit or appeal in any case where an application for leave to sue or appeal as a pauper has been made and rejected. The time during which the applicant has been prosecuted in good faith, his application for such leave shall be excluded, and the court may, on payment of the court fees prescribed for such suit or appeal, treat the suit or appeal as having the same force and effect as if the court fee had been paid in the first instance.
Mute your video. So section 13 speaks about a contingency where a person is coming to the court and trying to have a leave to file a proceeding including suit or appeal as a pauper, right? So simpliciter section 13 provides that if a person has been pursuing his remedy to be treated as a pauper and has moved an application for this, so during the pendency of that application, be that may in a suit or an appeal, the time period taken will be excluded for the purpose of computing the limitation, because there are two possibilities. One, his application may be admitted or application may be rejected. If his application is admitted, that we have already dealt with, his application will relate back to the date of institution of application and date of institution of suit will be same. If his application is rejected, let us assume its application is rejected at the time of filing of the suit, then he may have a remedy to file an appeal. Anybody of you can tell whether rejection of an application for pauper is appealable or not? कोई बता सकता है? All right. Rejection of an application for pauper is appealable as an order, right? When you will read order 33 rule 5, you will find that rejection of an application for pauper will relate back as an order, and before the 1976 amendment in CPs, there was a confusion whether where an application for leave to sue as a pauper for a suit is rejected, the suit goes until unless that person is ready to comprehend with filing of a court fees if the court orders so, right? But if he challenges that order of rejection, what should it be? Whether it should be treated as a decree or it should be treated as an order. So in by 1976 amendment in CPC, a specific provision has been inserted in appealable orders clause, that is order 43 rule 1, that any application for which has been so rejected, the order of rejecting an application for leave to defend as pauper will be treated as an order, an appealable order, right? 1. So he will file an appeal. If he's so rejected, then he may take his time during the pendency of that appeal also. So the legislature has taken into account the entire scenario. If his application is rejected, then he does not go further for the appeal, the period taken for decision before the trial court, or even if he goes to the appellate court and any time is taken, because before the appellate court what will happen? There are two possibilities. One, that application will be allowed and the order given by the trial court will be set aside, or the trial court order will be upheld. If the trial court order is set aside, meaning thereby he was having a right to sue as a pauper, so it will relate back from the date of the application when it was filed with the suit. No issues. But if his appeal is dismissed and similar situation is taken as has been given by the trial court below, that he was not entitled to file an application for pauper or he was not entitled to sue as a pauper, then the entire period till the date of the disposal of the appeal will be excluded by incumbents provisions of section 13. So he will be on the safer side and his suit will not be barred merely because of delay. All right, this is entirely section 13. But section 13 also says that there should be good faith while he is prosecuting. So what do we mean by the good faith? Good faith depends on the facts and circumstances of each case and also the situation or the person. Assuming a person is in will just to harass somebody, or because when he will file a leave as a pauper, the notice may be issued to the defendant as well. All right, or just to take the undue benefit for one reason or the other, he cannot be permitted to continue to take the benefit of section 14. Assuming there is a lawyer, he files a suit in individual capacity, he himself has been dealing with such cases, or him or any person who has filed his application as a pauper was having the knowledge that he is having property worth than lakhs, crores, he has been dealing, and the evidence comes to this effect that he should not have been there as a pauper itself. Anybody, when he comes to the court and files such and such application, may have an advice of a lawyer. So all these things can also be considered when he has to take the benefit of section 13. So the benefit of section 13 is not a state jacket protection, it should also be there in purview of that good faith. Got it? Section 14 पढ़िए नीलम जी.
exclusion of time of proceedings bona fide in court without jurisdiction.
Right. So section 14 basically it speaks about when a person has initiated the proceeding but in a wrong court, in a wrong forum, and that forum is wrong for what reason? For lack of jurisdiction. That may be a specific jurisdiction like the DRC civil court, or another jurisdiction like pecuniary nature, or appellate jurisdiction available or not available, where there does not lie an appeal, you are filing an appeal where the revision should have been filed. So jurisdiction of all these natures will come within the purview of section 14. आगे पढ़िए.
In computing the period of limitation for any suit, the time during which the plaintiff has been prosecuting with due diligence another civil proceedings, whether in a court of first instance or of appeal or revision, against the defendant shall be excluded. Where the proceeding relates to the same matter in issue and is prosecuted in good faith in a court which, from defect of jurisdiction or other cause of a like nature, is unable to entertain it.
So section 14 speaks about a situation where a person has approached a wrong court, but what are the conditions that he should have done it in good faith? Number one. Secondly, the proceeding on which he wants to rely as an exclusion, because section 14 again is an exclusion clause. Exclusion clause for what? Exclusion of continuation of the limitation, right? Or condonation of so-called delay if it is not justified that he has been duly coming before a court without any ill will, without any good faith. Only then it will be seen that he is entitled under section 14. So good faith is a requirement. Number 2 requirement is that he should have approached in respect to the same matter in issue, right? ऐसा नहीं है कि किसी और चीज के लिए आप अप्लाई करना शुरू कर दो, कहीं और कोई और कॉज ऑफ एक्शन है जो इससे रिलेट ना करता हो. एंड फर्दर व्हाट ही हैज टू डू दैट दिस अप्लाइज टू सूट बट इन कंटिन्यूएशन thereof. It simply sitter applies to suit section 14. It does not apply to any other proceeding. But where do we speak as the appeal and revision? It means when he has approached the court for the purpose of a relief, but the court finds that due to lack of jurisdiction, I will not entertain this petition, this suit of yours. But that fellow in good faith challenges that order, believing that this court is having the jurisdiction. So appeal and revision are used for that purpose.
Continuation of those proceedings.
Yes. So now read out further.
Clause 2. In computing the period of limitation for any application, the time during which the applicant has been prosecuting with due diligence another civil proceedings, whether in a court of first instance or of appeal or revision against the same party for the same relief, shall be excluded.
Yes.
Where such proceeding, same, I
Yes.
think is the
Same. We have covered it
repetition.
further.
Yeah. Clause 3, notwithstanding anything contained in Rule 2 of Order 23 of the CPC, the provisions of subsection 1 shall apply in relation to a fresh suit instituted on permission granted by the court under Rule 1 of that order, where such permission is granted on the ground that the first suit must fail by reason of a defect in the jurisdiction of the court or other cause of a like nature. Volume.
Before going into it, we have also to consider two things. Whether it speaks only for the purpose of a person who is prosecuting or the other person also who has been defending. सेक्शन 14 का लाभ किसको मिलेगा? क्या केवल एक ऐसे व्यक्ति को जिसने की कोर्ट को अप्रोच किया, या ऐसे व्यक्ति को भी जिसके खिलाफ वो अप्रोच किया गया? कोई आंसर इसका किसी के पास बताइए.
It is only in respect of the plaintiff, because defendant is the one who raises an objection to the jurisdiction. So
But
it is in respect of the plaintiff.
But this is a possibility that a person has applied for it, has filed a suit, but the defendant takes an objection of jurisdiction. Jurisdiction objection is taken away. That court does not accede to it, and he files an appeal against that on the basis of jurisdiction. Ultimately, it is find out that jurisdiction was not there.
So in that case, again, the benefit will be given to the petitioner. Volume aapki.
So it speaks about such a situation that where a person for any reason has been in good faith prosecuting some remedy before a court of wrong forum. It does not make any difference that from which proportionate jurisdiction, be that original or appellate or revisional, it is ultimately decided that the court which was approached in first instance was having the jurisdiction or not. Got the point? समझ में नहीं आया? आया या नहीं? हाँ या ना? जवाब दीजिए आप लोग. नहीं. All right. A person approaches a court for a civil remedy. He says that I have a jurisdiction on basis on the such and such and facts and circumstances on the law. The defendant comes to the court and takes a plea of jurisdiction. The lower court passes a decree, or lower court upholds that he is having the jurisdiction. But that decree or an order is challenged before the appellate court. Ultimately, it is held that the lower court was not having the jurisdiction. Now, 10 years may have elapsed and that plaintiff should have approached another forum, right? So still the time period taken during entire proceedings of this, including the suit, appeal or revision, till the finality of the jurisdiction, is to be excluded until unless it is seen that the person who has approached the court at the very first instance, that is the plaintiff herein, was not doing the things in his good faith. Got the point? I will give an example to this. Write down the name of judgment, Satnam Singh and others versus Palema Mahajan, 2009 दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट. अब ये ढूंढ अपने आप लेना आप लोग, क्योंकि मुझे इसका साइटेशन वगैरह याद नहीं है. जस्टिस ढींगरा का जजमेंट है मोस्ट लाइकली, राइट? What has happened in this, that a person approaches a court for some relief against few defendants. The proceedings are, the suit is dismissed or decree, let us see, a decree has been passed, execution is also filed, right? The objections are taken by some persons in the execution petition, against the execution petition, and though against the order, an execution appeal is filed before the High Court by two defendants, and rest of the defendant files the objection before the district judge, right? Before the CM main, which has been filed before Delhi High Court, the objection, the other respondent takes the objection that the district judge, on the very first instance, the district judge is having the authority and not the High Court, and that matter goes on for 2 years. In between that first, the other respondent who has filed an appeal, that appeal is still going on before the district judge. After 2-3 years, it comes to the conclusion that it was the district judge who was having the authority and not the High Court. High Court ultimately says that you should approach to the district judge. Those respondents approaches the district judge, files an appeal, is taking the benefit, trying to take the benefit of Section 5 and Section 14 of the Limitation Act, right? Section 5, one more thing you have to understand, that Section 5 and 14, though are independent in nature, but are not exclusive. समझ में आ रहा है इसका मतलब? सेक्शन 5 कंडोनेशन ऑफ डिले की बात करता है, सेक्शन 14 अपने आप में एक्सक्लूजन क्लोज की बात करता है कि भाई अप्रोप्रिएट फॉरम हमने अप्रोच कर रहे थे, उसकी बात करता है. दोनों इंडिपेंडेंट है अपने आप में. लेकिन सेक्शन 14 और 5 एक्सक्लूसिव क्यों नहीं है? कि अल्टीमेटली सेक्शन 14 उस पार्ट को, डिले को कंडोन ही कर रहा है जो एक व्यक्ति कहीं और अप्रोच कर रहा था. तो सफिशिएंट कोज की जो परिभाषा है वो कहीं ना कहीं जाकर सेक्शन 14 से मिलती है कि ये अपने आप में एक सफिशिएंट कोज माना गया है कि कोई व्यक्ति सही तरीके से किसी और कोर्ट के सामने कोई रेमेडी अप्रोच कर रहा था. ठीक है? सो द डिस्ट्रिक्ट जज रिजेक्ट्स दैट execution appeal of theirs, stating that they have not come in good faith, and the sufficient cause shown by them for the purpose of Section 5 is not attracted, because they have admitted that they were having the knowledge of the pendency of appeals before the district judge, and they also have stated in their appeal and application under Section 5 that they were assured by rest of the defendants that their interests will be protected, right? But later on, when they found that their interests were not duly protected, so they have approached now. So ultimately they were having the knowledge. One, a part of that, the finding is given that on the very first instance there were two possible things before them, that an appeal was already filed before the district judge. Secondly, when they filed an appeal before the High Court, execution appeal before the High Court, on the very first instance the lawyer has come, the other party lawyer has come and made them apprise that this is the correct scenario, or such and such orders are attractive, though High Court has not given any finding to that effect. So they were always in the knowledge that they were not prosecuting the things in good faith, right? So ultimately, though it may be a very blur argument to say high, and it was also upheld by the High Court, because until unless an order is given by a competent court about the point of law, it cannot be presumed that someone was not prosecuting in good faith, right? So, but the law is law, as upheld by the High Court. They said that they were not prosecuting in good faith, and the district judge order rejecting their appeal on the basis of not condoning their delay under section 5 and 14 was upheld by the High Court too, right? Koi confusion? Anybody? Hello? अरे भाई बोलो कुछ, आवाज नहीं आ रही क्या मेरी?
Yes sir, आ रही है sir.
हाँ, कोई कंफ्यूजन?
No sir.
चलो सेक्शन आगे पढ़ो, अगला सेक्शन है,
Explanation रह गया है अभी.
पढ़ो.
Explanation for the purpose of this section. Explanation A.
Hmm.
In excluding the time during which a former civil proceeding was pending, the day on which that proceeding was instituted and the day on which it ended shall both be counted.
Nothing important. It is simpliciter says that the proceedings on the day when it was started or the day on which it was culminated into an end should be excluded. They will not be counted for the purpose of limitation. ठीक है?
Explanation B. Plaintiff or an applicant resisting an appeal shall be deemed to be prosecuted a proceeding.
हाँ, ये मैंने आपको पहले ही बता दिया कि भाई ये पॉसिबिलिटी है ना कि जैसे एक प्लेंटिफ के फेवर में एक बात हो गई कि जुडिक्शन के इशू के लिए चैलेंज हो गया, डिफेंडेंट ने चैलेंज कर दिया, अल्टीमेटली प्लेंटिफ उसे प्रोसिक्यूट करता रहा कि नहीं भाई गलत चैलेंज कर रहा है, और अल्टीमेटली फाइंड आउट हुआ इस बात का कि भाई या तो प्लेंटिफ की साइड से गलत आर्ग्यूमेंट था, डिफेंडेंट की साइड से आर्ग्यूमेंट गलत था. सो इफ इट इज हेल्ड कि ही इज हैविंग द जुडिक्शन, ऑल राइट, नो इश्यूज, मुकदमा आगे चली जाता. लेकिन इफ इट इज फाउंड दैट देयर वाज नो जुडिक्शन, still he was prosecuting the things in good faith and the right proper manner as required under section 14. So the entire period of the appeal, even filed by the defendant challenging the order of the lower court, will be excluded. Simple. Section 15 पढ़िए आगे.
C भी है, explanation C.
पढ़ लो, important नहीं. हाँ.
Misjoinder of parties or of cause of action shall be deemed to be a cause of a like nature with defect of this.
Yes. जब आप ऊपर पढ़ते हैं तो उसमें दिखाई देता है कि दो ग्राउंड्स बताए गए थे जो उनको कोई कंसीडर किया जाना था कोर्ट के रेस्पेक्ट में, एक जुरिस्डिक्शन और एनी अदर कॉज ऑफ लाइक नेचर. एनी अदर कॉज ऑफ लाइक नेचर को उन्होंने बाद में डिफाइन कर दिया, नीचे जाके कंफ्यूजन ना हो, कि उसमें इंक्लूड करता है कि आपने जिस व्यक्ति जो पार्टी नेसेसरी था उसको नहीं बनाया, राइट, या जो नेसेसरी पार्टी नहीं था उसको बना लिया, या कॉज ऑफ एक्शन जो उस मुकदमे का पार्ट होना चाहिए था उसको आपने कंसीडर नहीं किया, या ऐसा कुछ कंसीडर कर लिया जो नहीं होना चाहिए था. तो ये भी कॉज ऑफ लाइक नेचर हो सकते हैं. मीनिंग देयर बाय कि एक व्यक्ति ने, एन एग्जांपल फॉर इट, a person has approached the court filing a suit in respect to eviction of the tenant, right, before a civil court, but the tenant was paying a sum of rupees 2500 and was protected under Delhi Rent Control Act. So the court was not having the jurisdiction. But in the similar suit, he has also asked for some remedy in respect to the damages done or which was arising out of the contract, that such and such payment will also be made for such and such act by the tenant, which was independent of the Delhi Rent Control Act bar. So this is a misjoinder of cause of action as far as the jurisdiction is concerned of the civil court, because eviction cannot be ruled by the civil court when a tenant is a protected tenant. And due to this, the civil court decides that it will not in entirety entertain the suit, right? He goes to the appellate court. Appellate court also upheld so that part of cause of action is entertainable, but the lower court is not having the jurisdiction for this purpose. So whether that person who has approached, the landlord who has approached the court for the relief of two in nature, and out of which one was not within the jurisdiction of civil court, should have the benefit of section 14 to approach the DRC or not. उसको कवर करने के लिए उन्होंने बताया कि यस, यहां मिसजॉइंडर ऑफ पार्टीज, जिसका उदाहरण नहीं था, या मिसजॉइंडर ऑफ कॉज ऑफ एक्शंस, या रिलीफ जो अल्टीमेटली कल्मिनेट होगा रिलीफ में, अगर गलत तरीके से ज्वाइन कर लिया गया है लेकिन वो गुड फेथ में ज्वाइन किया गया है, तो वो भी एक्सक्लूड माना जाएगा और वो दूसरी कोर्ट को जो अप्रोच करने की, जहां अप्रोच करना चाहिए था वहां अप्रोच कर सकता है. राइट? गो फॉर सेक्शन 15.
Section 15. Exclusion of time in certain other cases. Subclause 1. In computing the period of limitation for any suit or application for the execution of a decree, the institution or execution of which has been stayed by injunction or order, the time of continuance of the injunction or order, the day on which it was issued or made, and the day on which it was withdrawn shall be excluded.
वेट, सेक्शन 15 को मैं आप लोगों को ब्रीफ में पैरा समझा देता हूं, पढ़ अपने आप लेना. सेक्शन 15 speaks about 3-4 important things. One, it says that when a person has approached the court for a civil remedy, be it suit, application or execution, and the prosecution of it is stayed by someone. Someone means definitely an appellate, revisional, or some court who has the authority to do so. So during the pendency of that stay, right, and ultimately it is found that no, stay was wrong, it should not have been prosecuted, it should have been prosecuted. So the duration of that stay will be excluded for the purpose of jurisdiction, for the purpose of computing the limitation, including the date of institution of that suit, also of that appeal, that entire time taken during the stay proceedings, as well as the passing of the order. Right? Number one. Yeah, one important bit. Another important clause in section 15 is issuance of notices or sanction. It says when there is a position that a person has to serve a notice or has to seek a consent or sanction from the government. So the time taken in all these three conditions to issue a notice or get it served, or to get a sanction or consent from the government from prosecuting further, should be excluded from the clause for the purpose of computation of limitation. Example, एक आदमी को गवर्नमेंट के खिलाफ मुकदमा फाइल करना है, तो ये दिया हुआ है कि भाई सेक्शन 80 का नोटिस जरूरी है. और एक व्यक्ति 3 साल में मुकदमा फाइल कर सकता है, तो उसने 2 साल और 11 महीने के अंदर मुकदमा फाइल किया, फिर उसने 60 दिन का नोटिस दिया, 3 साल पूरे हो गए, उसके बाद मुकदमा फाइल किया, तो क्या कोर्ट कह सकते हैं 3 साल बाद आ रहे हो? उन्होंने इसी कंटेंजेंसी को ध्यान में रखते हुए, बिकॉज यू इट इज द लेजिस्लेचर हु हैज मेड इनकम्बेंट अपॉन द पर्सन टू अप्रोच द कोर्ट ओनली आफ्टर just service of that required notice, he has been given the benefit that it will be excluded. वो 60 दिन उसके exclude होंगे 2 months के. जैसे MCD एक्ट में सेक्शन 80 है, ऐसी MCD एक्ट में सेक्शन 474 या समथिंग है, ठीक है, 478 कि वहां रिक्वायरमेंट है कि आपको नोटिस देना है, तो भैया वो टाइम पीरियड एक्सक्लूड होगा. या कहीं ऐसी स्थिति है कि कोई सूट प्रोसिक्यूटिंग करने के लिए या कोई मुकदमा चलाने के लिए, ये प्रोसीडिंग की बात भी कर रहा है, आपकी एप्लीकेशन की बात भी कर रहा है, सैंक्शन की आवश्यकता है. मान लीजिए कि जैसे पहले मद्रास पोर्ट ट्रस्ट एक्ट हुआ करता था, वहां दिया हुआ था कि भाई अगर उसके खिलाफ कोई रिलीफ आप मांगेंगे तो गवर्नमेंट को एक बार आप जो है सैंक्शन मांगेंगे, गवर्नमेंट से कंसेंट मांगेंगे, और इतने टाइम पीरियड में गवर्नमेंट सैंक्शन देगी, अगर नहीं देगी तो उसके बाद आप प्रोसिक्यूट कर सकते हैं. या एक ब्लर उदाहरण इसका ये भी हो सकता है कि मान लीजिए जैसे सीआरपीसी में सेक्शन 197 है, वहां ये आवश्यकता है कि किसी पब्लिक सर्वेंट के खिलाफ आपको प्रोसिक्यूशन चलाना है तो सैंक्शन लेनी पड़ेगी. सैंक्शन आपने अप्लाई की तो इतने टाइम पीरियड आपके अंदर अंदर आपको मिल गई, बाद में लॉ डेवलप हुआ कि भाई इतने टाइम पीरियड में डीम्ड होगी नहीं होगी, वो हम उस पर नहीं जा रहे. सो वे इट इज इनकम्बेंट अपॉन ए पर्सन बाय द लॉ टू इशू ए नोटिस और टू रिसीव ए सैंक्शन और कंसेंट फ्रॉम द कोर्ट, देन वॉट एवर टाइम इज टेकिंग ड्यूरिंग द सर्विस ऑफ दैट नोटिस, और सर्विस ऑफ नोटिस मींस रिक्वायर्ड टाइम कि 60 दिन का नोटिस देना है भेजने के बाद, तो पूरा 60 दिन, right? या time taken in obtaining the consent or sanction will be excluded from the period of limitation, right? So आगे इसमें पढ़ो, any other important thing? तीन के बाद पढ़ो इसमें। सेक्शन 14 में और क्या पढ़ना है?
एक्सप्लेनेशन सर, एक्सप्लेनेशन है, सेकंड का पढ़ूं?
पढ़ो।
Explanation. In excluding the time required for obtaining the consent or sanction of the government or any other authority, the date on which the application was made, obtaining
Nothing
the
important, जिस
consent
दिन
or sanction.
एप्लीकेशन दोगे और जिस दिन तक वो ऑर्डर पास होगा, साथ ही साथ उन्होंने कहा कि जो ऑर्डर है वो रिसीट की बात आप करेंगे। मान लीजिए ऑर्डर तो पास कर दिया उसने और भेज दिया 11 तारीख को और मिला नहीं उस व्यक्ति को 15 तारीख तक भी या 15 दिन तक भी, तो ऑर्डर पास होने से काम नहीं चलेगा। उस व्यक्ति को जिसका कि आप राइट छीन रहे हो या राइट एक उसके ऊपर ऑब्लिगेशन लगा रहे हो कि इट वाज रिक्वायर्ड मैंडेटरी कि भाई वो वेट करे आपके सैंक्शन का, तो जब तक उसे वो रिसीव नहीं हो रहा तब तक के लिए आपको बार कर दिया गया या उसकी जो लिमिटेशन है वो एक्सक्लूड कर दी गई कि आपकी भाई लिमिटेशन रन नहीं करेगी या जो टोटल पीरियड है उसमें एक तरीके से इन एडिशन टू वो माना जाएगा। ठीक है,
पर सर इसमें रिसीट ऑफ द ऑर्डर गवर्नमेंट और अदर अथॉरिटी शैल बोथ बी काउंटेड है।
हाँ,
तो
रिसीट इसलिए बनेगा ना, रिसीट वर्ड कि ये नहीं है कि ऑर्डर पास होने से फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा कि भाई गवर्नमेंट अगर इसमें हाँ ऑर्डर की बात कर देते कि ऑर्डर पास, जैसे कि लोग कोर्ट में कहते हैं, हाई कोर्ट या किसी के ऑर्डर के लिए कह रहे हैं ऑर्डर पास, यहाँ करें ऑर्डर रिसीट, बिकॉज दिस द एजेंसी इन्वॉल्व्ड इज गवर्नमेंट मशीनरी, इट में टेक टाइम। आज आपने ऑर्डर पास कर दिया कि सैंक्शन हम देते हैं या नहीं देते हैं, और वो 2 महीने तक उस व्यक्ति को रिसीव ही नहीं हुआ, आपने भेज दिया चिट्ठी स्पीड पोस्ट से, नहीं हुई 15 दिन रिसीव, लॉकडाउन कर दिया सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने, पड़ी रही खाते में, so his right cannot be taken away, right? So
थर्ड पढ़ो?
नहीं वो इतना पढ़ लो, फटाफट पढ़ो।
In computing the period of limitation for any suit or application for execution of decree, any by any receiver of interim receiver appointed in proceeding for the
बता देता हूँ
adjudication of
आपको कि ये जहां ऐसी स्थिति है जहां कोई रिसीवर अपॉइंट किया गया है तो उसके स्पेशल पर्पसेस के लिए उन्होंने ये कहा कि भाई जो टाइम पीरियड इन बिटवीन उसकी प्रोसीडिंग्स में लगेगा वो प्लस इसके आगे देखो 3 महीने का टाइम पीरियड और उन्होंने दिया। क्यों दिया? इसलिए 3 महीने का टाइम पीरियड दिया क्योंकि उन्हें पता था कि मान लीजिए कंपनी वाउंड अप हो गई या एक ऑर्डर पास हो गया, किसी क्रेडिटर को अब या उस कंपनी को अपनी व्यवस्थाओं को समझने का टाइम चाहिए कि उसके क्या राइट्स थे क्या नहीं थे, अपने अकाउंट्स टैली करने हैं, उसके अलावा अपने ऑफिशियल से बात करनी है या जो रिकॉर्ड्स हैं उनको देखना है उसके क्या राइट है, ताकि वो एकदम से तो हो सकता तैयार ना हो। तो जो टाइम पीरियड उसमें लगा प्लस ये स्पेशल क्लोज है, 3 महीने का टाइम अलग से उसको दिया गया है जस्ट फॉर प्रैक्टिकल पर्पसेस। ठीक है, आगे
clause 4. Clause 4. In computing the period of limitation for a suit for possession by a
Nothing
purchaser
important.
at a...
वेट, इन्होंने ये सिंपलीसिटर कहा कि भाई जो कोई परचेजर है एग्जीक्यूशन से कोई ऑक्शन परचेज से ले रहा है कोई व्यक्ति, ठीक है, और ऐसी स्थिति में उसे कोई मुकदमा फाइल करने की अपनी आवश्यकता पड़ती है तो जो टाइम पीरियड लग रहा है इस प्रोसीडिंग में वो भी एक्सक्लूड किया जाएगा। ठीक है, चलो आगे लास्ट इसमें ये कहता है कि जो टाइम लगता है किस पर्पस के लिए, एक ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है, बहुत ब्रीफ में फटाफट मैं बताता हूं। दिस इज क्लोज, बहुत सारे लोगों को पता नहीं है, ये इंटेंशनली बनाया था जब ये लॉ बना कि अगर कोई डिफेंडेंट जिसके खिलाफ आप मुकदमा फाइल कर रहे हैं वो देश से बाहर हो और वॉलंटरीली देश से बाहर हो और आपकी पकड़ के बाहर हो, तो हालांकि इसका कभी कोई इस्तेमाल आज की डेट में करता नहीं, रिडंडेंट है, नहीं करता, लेकिन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। तो वो जब तक वो इस देश से बाहर रहेगा तब तक वो लिमिटेशन काउंट नहीं की जाएगी, राइट? मान लीजिए किसी व्यक्ति से आपको पैसा लेना था 10 करोड़ रुपया और वो व्यक्ति आपसे 10 करोड़ रुपए लेके उसने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किया कि 6 महीने में लौटा दूंगा और 5 महीने बाद ही वो देश छोड़ के भाग गया, जैसे आज नीरव मोदी जी भागे हुए हैं, राइट? अब नीरव मोदी जी पकड़ में तो है नहीं, देश के बाहर है, हमारे देश के हमारी सर्विसेज की संभावना नहीं है उनको, तो ऐसी स्थिति में जानबूझकर टू प्रोटेक्ट द राइट ऑफ द प्लेंटिफ दे हैव सेड कि इफ समबडी इज आउट ऑफ द रीच, दैट मींस आउट ऑफ द कंट्री वेयर वी आर लिविंग इन, where our machine is not working properly, then the limitation period will not commence during that period when he is out of India, राइट, बट अगेन अपने दिमाग में रखिए कि वो जो बेसिक सिद्धांत है वो इससे भी खत्म नहीं होता कि वंस द लिमिटेशन इज स्टार्टेड टू रन इट विल नॉट स्टॉप, राइट? So this is section 13, 14 and 15. I will be sending you an invite again because we will also try to go on section 16 as well as today, right? Just wait for 5 minutes.